WWE Match of the Year candidates often come in a cluster, but 2017 was different. The bouts on this list were scattered all throughout the year. Some were from the Royal Rumble in January, others as late as Hell in a Cell and Survivor Series. Don't worry, you don't have to scour the match listings yourselves. I have ran around and found them for you like a delightful little Easter egg hunt. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and with that lovely mental image in mind, let's take a look at the 10 best WWE matches of 2017. Spoiler alert, AJ Styles features quite a few times. Of course he does. Join us. Number 10, Kevin Owens vs Shane McMahon at Hell in a Cell. We start with a match that wasn't too great in a technical sense, which is understandable considering it features Shane McMahon. Shane's not so much a wrestler as a Looney Tunes character in sneakers, but even if he lacks the skills of an elite pro wrestler, he knows how to put on a show. There were plenty of heart-stopping moments here as Shane and KO battled atop the Hell in a Cell structure. You'll never guess which one of them ended up jumping over the edge. Surprise, it was Shane, but what happened next was genuinely shocking. With Owens prone on the announce table, Shane launched himself into another terrifying Cell dive, only for Sami Zayn to drag his arch nemesis out of harm's way. Unbelievable. Number 9, Finn Balor vs AJ Styles at TLC. Definitely not wishing illness upon anybody here, but the bug that struck key members of the Raw locker room this year provided us with a very intriguing TLC card. With Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns sidelined, WWE were forced to make a few last-minute changes. Kurt Angle, of course, made an appearance as the Shield's dad, but the more mouth-watering prospect saw AJ Styles step in to replace Wyatt. His opponent, fellow former Bullet Club leader, Finn Balor. This match was like watching a pair of alley cats fight, two small, incredibly agile athletes flying around with reckless abandon. Somewhat surprisingly, Balor won by crushing several of AJ's internal organs, and the pair shared a big old too sweet in the middle of the ring afterwards. Lovely. Number 8, Kevin Owens vs Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. Yes, a Roman Reigns singles match is on this list, but please put down your pitchforks. Although it is still very popular to hate WWE's booking of Roman, hopefully most of us have now realised that he's a very capable in-ring talent. Of course, very few doubt Kevin Owens' ability, so it shouldn't be a surprise that their clash at the Royal Rumble was one of the most enthralling WWE matches of the year. The two men held nothing back, slamming one another through announce tables, blasting each other with brass knuckles, and so on. In fact, the match was so good that it would have probably featured higher on this list were it not for the confusing stipulation. Chris Jericho was suspended above the ring, like a sexy piñata in his own words, but the match was no DQ regardless, allowing Braun Strowman to interfere and cost Reigns. A bit strange. Number 7, the Fatal 5-Way number 1 contender match at Extreme Rules. Brock Lesnar, as far as we all know, just sort of shows up when he wants. This can often leave the Raw main event scene feeling a little sparse, but fair play, WWE used his absence to book a hell of a match at Extreme Rules. In order to find a number 1 contender for the Universal Championship, Raw GM Kurt Angle simply threw 5 of his best wrestlers together: Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Bray Wyatt. Predictably, the match was very entertaining indeed. Careful planning meant that all 5 wrestlers had a chance to shine, especially Seth Rollins, who had one of those performances where he decides to kick things into an impossibly high gear. It was Joe, however, who triumphed, choking out Finn Balor and securing a title match against the Beast Incarnate. Number 6, The New Day versus the Usos at Hell in a Cell. It's no secret that there's often a huge disconnect between WWE's booking and the opinion of us, the fans. This can lead to frustration and constant CM Punk chants, but sometimes WWE do change things up to appease us. That happened in the case of the Usos and the New Day. The two teams were in the midst of an enthralling feud but found themselves to short TV matches and the SummerSlam pre-show. Thankfully, WWE gave them a chance to prove themselves under the most infamous stipulation of all. No, not Judy Bagwell on a forklift, Hell in a Cell. With Kofi watching from the outside, Big E and Xavier Woods ditched their fun-loving personas and waged war with the Usos. Arguably the most memorable moment came when Jay was wedged into a corner of the cell with kendo sticks, but despite this setback, the heels were able to come out on top. However, they didn't stay heel for long, in part due to the respect they earned from this match. Number 5, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at Money in the Bank. Although the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was an important and necessary step in the right direction, its execution left an awful lot to be desired. Of all the superstars WWE could have chosen to pull down the inaugural women's briefcase, James Ellsworth probably wasn't the first choice of many. The men's bout later in the show therefore had a lot to live up to, but fortunately it did so in spades. The best Money in the Bank matches combine utter carnage and sensible storytelling, and this was no exception. Baron Corbin took Shinsuke Nakamura out of the running with a pre-match beatdown, but Nakamura stormed back with a vengeance, dealing out Kinshasas to each of his opponents and teasing a future showdown with none other than AJ Styles. Corbin did still win, but nobody really minded because the match was so well booked. Number 4, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe at SummerSlam. It's kind of strange to think that a match surely inspired by a 6-year-old smashing his action figures together would be one of the best WWE bouts of the year. The Fatal 4-Way at SummerSlam, though, lived up to every bit of hype and then some. When the match was announced, fans fantasized about Strowman, Roman, Lesnar and Joe attempting to destroy each other, but few thought that this would be exactly what happened. The quartet smashed through barricades, destroyed announce tables and launched chairs at one another. It was silly, hilarious and brilliant. For a moment, it seemed as though Brock was set to lose his title as he was taken to the back after being crushed by the announce table. However, the Beast simply wouldn't be defeated, storming back into the arena and winning an utter earthquake of a match. Number 3, Brock Lesnar vs AJ Styles at Survivor Series. We've already talked about how Brock Lesnar kind of just shows up when he wants, wrestling a far lighter schedule than every other champion on the roster, but if anyone could be counted upon to bring the best out of him, it was surely AJ Styles. The pair faced one another in a champion versus champion clash at Survivor Series, a bout that was comfortably Lesnar's best since the WrestleMania 31 main event with Roman Reigns. Predictably, AJ bumped like a madman for his much larger opponent, but Lesnar also took part in a bit of world-class selling. He looked like a big, blonde, sweaty, red-wounded buffalo. It was magical. Brock eventually won, but Paul Heyman was very keen to put Styles over in the aftermath. So everyone was a winner, really. But Lesnar was the actual winner, obviously. Number 2, the Elimination Chamber match at Elimination Chamber. Of all of the matches on this list, this is perhaps the less well remembered. That may have something to do with Bray Wyatt's subsequent WWE Championship run, you know, the one with the spooky wookie match against Randy Orton and the burning down of a house and all that stuff. The beginning of that reign, however, was one of the most perfectly booked WWE matches of the year. 2017's Elimination Chamber featured Wyatt, Cena, Styles, Miz, Corbin and Ambrose, and was paced brilliantly. Every set piece in this match worked well: Ambrose's quick elimination of Corbin and Corbin's revenge beatdown, Styles and Cena attempting to continue their feud, and then Wyatt taking advantage of their rivalry to win it all. It perhaps wasn't the most memorable match of the year, but it was certainly one of the best. Number 1, AJ Styles vs John Cena at the Royal Rumble. AJ versus Cena. Cena versus AJ. Allen versus John. The Royal Rumble showdown between the face that runs the place and the champ that runs the camp is our WWE match of the year, and that should really be no surprise. After a stellar showdown at SummerSlam 2016, Styles and Cena faced one another again at the Rumble. This match was as good as WWE singles contests get, with the two competitors taking one another to the absolute limit. The bout had everything: top rope super moves, huge crushing lariats, and one of the most unusual but inventive finishes to a WWE match in years. After nailing Styles with an attitude adjustment, Cena immediately rolled over AJ and scooped him again into a second consecutive version of the move. It was an oddly New Japan-esque finish to an oddly New Japan-esque match, and the finest main roster clash in WWE this year. So that's our list. You can let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You can donate to us on Patreon here, and most importantly, don't forget to join us.